Hello class, I am friends with Mrs. Spore, your teacher, and today I'm going to read chapter 5 of Stanley Flat Again. Here's the picture to start out. Chapter 5 is titled, Why Me? Stanley had looked sad all evening, Arthur thought. At bedtime, as they lay waiting for Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop to come say goodnight, he wondered how to cheer his brother up. It was raining hard, and he remembered suddenly the rainy evening that Stanley had snacked on raisins and by morning had become invisible. A little-known consequence, Dr. Dan had explained, of eating fruit during bad weather. Hear the rain, Stanley, he said. Better not eat any fruit. Ha, 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 Stanley sounded cross. Just leave me alone, okay? Stanley's in a terrible mood, Arthur told Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop when they came in. He won't even talk to me. What's wrong, my boy? Mr. Lambchop asked. Nothing. Stanley put his pillow over his head. If my picture was in the paper practically every day, I'd be happy, Arthur said. I mean, why? Mrs. Lambchop hushed him. Stanley, dear, what is troubling you? Nothing, nothing, Stanley said from under the pillow and sat up. But why me? Why am I always getting flat or invisible or something? Why can't it just once be someone else? I wouldn't mind, actually, Arthur said. Just for a while Hush, Arthur, Mrs. Lambchop put out the overhead light, lit a corner lamp, and sat by Stanley on his bed. Mr. Lambchop sat with Arthur. The gentle patter of the rain against the windows and the glow of the little lamp made the bedroom cozy indeed. Here's a picture of them all together as a family. I do see what you mean, Stanley, Mr. Lambchop said at last. Why do these things happen to you? Your mother and I don't know the answer either, but things often happen without there seeming to be a reason, and then something else happens, and suddenly the first thing seems to have had a purpose after all. Well put, George, Mrs. Lambchop squeezed Stanley's hand. What we do know, Stanley dear, is that we're very proud of you and love you very much. And we understand about the flatness and all the other unexpected happenings, how upsetting it must be. It sure is, said Stanley. How would you like never knowing when you might get flat? Or invisible? Maybe someday I'll wake up 10 feet tall or 1 inch short, or with green hair or a tail or something. I know, Mrs. Lambchop said softly, and Mr. Lambchop came and patted Stanley's shoulder. Then they kissed both boys, switched off the lamp, and went out. Arthur spoke into the darkened room. Stanley, I'm trying to go to sleep, said Stanley. What? I was just thinking, Arthur said, if you got invisible and then you got flat, how would they know? Huh? I don't... Stanley laughed. Oh, I get it. About the flatness. Good one, Arthur. Arthur laughed too. Quiet, please, said Stanley. I'm trying to sleep. Okay, Arthur said, but he chuckled several times before he fell asleep.